The life a man leads is but a transient affair. So it has been said through all the generations since the ancient time when heaven and earth began. Observed from afar on the broad plain of heaven, the radiant moon sometimes waxes, sometimes wanes. So too, with the treetops in the foot-wearying hills, when springtime arrives, they glow with blossom's beauty. And in the autumn, their leaves of many colours are touched by dew and frost and scatter before the wind. The life of a man seems to be no different. The pink flush of youth fades from the complexion. The raven tresses, black as leopard flower seeds, take on a new hue. The morning smile dies at dusk. I am powerless to hold back the tears that fall like a flooding rain when I think of man's transience, of how he declines with changes invisible as a blowing wind, with changes unremitting as the flow of a river. It is precisely because all is transient that even mute trees put forth blossoms in springtime and in autumn shed brown leaves. When I contemplate the brevity of man's life, I am indifferent to worldly things. How many are the days I spend in thought? That was an excerpt from the Manyoshu, or Collection of 10,000 Leaves in English, a compilation of Japanese poems written around 759 AD. The themes of this poem, the impermanence of natural things and of man's life, are fundamental to the human condition in such a way that, a millennium and some centuries later, they still remain relevant. In 2021, a game called Shin Megami Tensei 5 was released, later getting a revised version with the subtitle Vengeance in 2024. And at the beginning of this game, the last 5 lines of that excerpt are quoted. The brevity of man's life is a translation of utsusemi, a homophone for the Japanese name of what is known in the English version of SMT5 as essence, referred to in dialogue as knowledge. In the game, you take the role of a young man who becomes a Nahobino, or united god, a human fused with a demon, the union of knowledge and life, with the ability to recreate the world. In the Shin Megami Tensei games, your choices determine the future of the social order of that world, typically either a chaotic world of demons, a lawful world ruled by God, or a neutral path, a world for humanity. It's often the case that the law and chaos roots are extremist, and the truest choice is neutral. The Nahobino surpasses worldly things and the brevity of man's life, with the ultimate goal of recreating the world, forming one that belongs to humans, not demons or gods.
How will these keepers of knowledge strive and perish during their final futile hours in this doomed world?
Let us watch them at our leisure until the new ruler is seated upon the throne.
SMT5 begins with news of crime and rumors that demons are attacking Tokyo. Our protagonist, who is carrying the Manyoshu by the way, is trapped under a bridge and wakes up in another world.
Long, long ago, before these creatures known as humans gained knowledge, the god of law seated himself upon the throne of creation. He seized all knowledge from the other gods, rebuking them, so they could never dare to approach the throne.
Reducing them to mere demons. The fruit of knowledge was secreted away in a paradise of his own creation. One day, a serpent sought out the mortals, seeking to tempt them into doing his will.
Eat the fruit of knowledge in this paradise, and you will become more like God.
The serpent's goal was to revive the war of the myriad gods. Oblivious to the serpent's machinations, the mortals of each realm ate the fruit, one after another, without fail.
The knowledge they devoured then bound to their souls, birthing humans closer to gods.
The The tree of knowledge in this scene has essence, or knowledge, appearing in the red form of what is clearly, within the context of the game, Magatsuhi. Magatsuhi can be translated as the divine spirit of calamity, which is fitting as, in the SMT series, it is described as a power born from suffering. Our goal as the Nahobino is to cast the essence of gods and demons away from humans, and create a world for humanity by purifying them of Magatsuhi. The origin of the name Nahobino is rooted in the name of a type of god who purifies and removes calamities, the counterpart to the Magatsuhi no Kami. The Magatsuhi appears like 10,000 Leaves, the title of the Manyoshu.
When the god of law saw this, he banished all humanity from his paradise in a fit of rage.
Humans, you curious creatures infused with precious knowledge.
Know that you are observed by countless demons, waiting for their chance to strike.
In place of Tokyo, an apocalyptic desert appears, and you are alone. About to fall victim to some demons, you are saved by the proto-fiend Aogami of Bethel, fusing with him to become a godlike Nahobino. With this newfound power, you are free to explore the Netherworld, also known as SMT games take place in post-apocalyptic Tokyo, hostile, infested with demons, and above all else, otherworldly. 5 is the first SMT to have open area exploration, a new direction for the series, one that offers a different presentation of its world. The deserts of the Netherworld, or Dart, are spacious with varied terrain that allow the Nahobino to utilize his high mobility. Differing from previous titles, the protagonist of SMT5 doesn't trudge slowly through corridors, but rather sprints effortlessly across the landscape, and is also able to jump, climb, and swing his sword hand to initiate battles with demons or open chests. You can enable auto-run to cruise through, running downhill causes the Nahobino to satisfyingly glide downwards. The effect of all of this is a movement system that allows you to engage with the world in a new, meaningful way that no SMT game has done before. The openness of areas puts on display just how desolate Tokyo is. Dunes and ruined buildings stretch off into the distance. The tragic beauty of the Netherworld is accompanied by an equally hopeless feeling soundtrack, with powerful guitar notes sounding like they're a call echoing into the void. The open area design allows players to experience an alien world in a different way than before. Vengeance also added Magatsuhi rails, which make the world more interconnected, and allow you to appreciate it from different angles that you wouldn't have otherwise. Soaring across the dunes, you get a feel for just how vast the space is. The world is also designed in such a way that it is exciting and encourages exploration. It makes the bold decision to reveal icons for almost every kind of treasure you can find on the map, meaning the question becomes less where things are, and more how to get there. Having these icons visible at all times incentivizes exploring, as the rewards are dangled in front of the player's face. When something such as an amalgam appears, you have every reason to go off-piste in pursuit of it. One of the most significant things to find in the world are essences, the crystallized form of a demon's being. These can be used to instantly grant skills of the respective demon to any other demon or the Nahobino, so naturally they are very useful. Therefore, their presence in the open areas is further reason to explore. Also in Vengeance, Aogami essences that grant unique skills to the Nahobino, have a distinct icon, which is further enticing, as these are, of the items to be found in the Netherworld, perhaps the most exciting of all, due to their usefulness and uniqueness. They also appear as frozen corpses of old Aogami units, which expands the lore, and the image of their final moment locked in stasis is a haunting addition to the world. The side content in the game improves the pacing of the exploration. Abscesses are a concentration of Magatsuhi which contain a mini-boss, granting new miracles to unlock which are vital to progression, and can be seen from a mile away. They're like checkpoints that help structure the areas. There's also a wealth of otherworldliness to encounter when you approach them. What looks like some black infectious liquid flows outwards and envelops the surroundings, consuming the area in a demonic miasma. The music becomes distorted as if the sound waves are being warped by this alien mass. The side quests in the game similarly improve the world. One of the most notable types involves choosing between two quests, one lawful and one chaotic. Kill one demon and have the other join you. The conflict is rarely particularly deep, but this is nevertheless a way in which the game delivers smaller scale ideological differences and leaves it to the player to decide which one is right. The world of SMT5 is not limited to the Sands of Minato though. The second area of the game is Shinagawa. This area is far less despondent, and you're exploring it whilst on a mission with other humans. Some of the soundtrack for this area bounces with optimism in electronic sound form. Despite being post-apocalyptic, it gives the feeling of a bustling city. This area is filled less with open plains, and is at times more of a concrete jungle. The Magatsuhi rails have you weave in between buildings to let you appreciate the scale of the remnants of what was once a prosperous part of the city. SMT5's netherworld Shinagawa echoes the hope of a society that once was. Dialogue from a Miman in the area says, "Humans who lived here truly believed good time forever. Everything gotta end sometime. Feel real meaningless, yeah. The humans that the Miman refers to, perhaps unlike Otomo no Yakamochi, the compiler of the Manyoshu, not recognizing the brevity of man's life, they lived in fear." Most notable of all regions is Vengeance's Shinjuku. The Shinjuku Gyoen area in particular is breathtakingly beautiful. The nature is lilac, which, whilst alien, makes it peaceful and serene. The grass looks extraterrestrial, illuminating your presence, and yet it's welcoming. The orange tree-like plants are monolithic, but not threatening. The entire area gives the feeling of bizarreness, but a bizarreness that is impossibly alluring. But the soul of Vengeance's Shinjuku comes in the music. Among the OST here is one of the best area themes Kazuka has composed. The bright, high-pitched notes of the Shinjuku Gyoen theme sound angelic, but are only made better when complemented by the bassy synth that kicks in. The syncopated percussion gives the track rhythm and animation. Exploring Shinjuku felt like a transcendental experience. A very different portrayal of the otherworldly than what I've come to expect as an SMT fan, and yet emblematic of the beauty and atmosphere of the series. But it wouldn't be SMT without. SMT5 is the second mainline game in the series with 3D demons, and the first in 18 years since SMT3 Nocturne. As well as bringing its own new demons to the Mega 10 roster, it gave 3D appearances to returning ones that had only been seen in 2D. SMT5's 3D renders introduce a new way of viewing these demons. The stylish, heroic-looking plated armor of Odin's design from SMT4 Apocalypse now looks better viewed under different instances of lighting, showing those bold colors in new ways. SMT5 is significantly brighter than other SMT games, especially in comparison to its grungy 3D counterpart Nocturne, and this is reflected in its alternative approach to the otherworldly, as seen in other aspects of the game, such as its world design. As far as its own new designs go, the protagonist is, of course, an exemplar of SMT5's character design. Colored deep blue, the Nahobino appears unnatural, and glowing against black, the color scheme has an electric sense to it, giving him a godlike feeling of power. Zigzagging across his body is a shape like a fissure, or a lightning bolt or a river, the latter two likely being of particular relevance due to Nahobino's identity as the sea storm god Susanoo. His design is striking. In terms of actual demons, one of the most iconic introduced by SMT5 would be the Daemon, which captures the aesthetic of a stereotypical servant of hell. Doi emphasizes its vile and crass nature. Indeed, the Daemon that's significant in SMT5 is a symbol of chaos. Particularly appearing in swarms, it introduces us to the netherworld as the first type of demon we see, and an enormous mass of daemons, their black bodies, almost blocking out the light of day, accompanies Lucifer, each individual appearing infinitely smaller than the Lord of Chaos himself in Agami's flashback. Doi states that with the time given to him, he was able to make the 3D aspect of the demon stand out, giving particular detail to its muscles. Daemon has a fairly simple design, but it's significant to the game's portrayal of chaos. One of my favorite of 5's new designs is one of its antagonists, Lamu. Representing the silt between saltwater and freshwater, the depiction of Lamu in Babylonian mythology is of a man with 6 curls in his hair, and Doi spun the depictions of Lamu into something incredibly creative. He appears like a giant floating mask with disheveled hair, covered in dingy brown, grey and black with hints of gold hinting at his divine origins. His dirty looking appearance lends to the disgusting vibe he gives off, especially with the tentacles that he uses to control people. This is made better with the way that he's animated. It looks like some kind of fluid is pumping through these tentacles, and his attacks make him look like he's writhing. His eyes and mouth are unmoving empty holes, making him look lifeless and monstrous. And voiced in English is a raspy hit. I look upon this monstrosity in awe. Vengeance goes further to characterize the demons through gameplay. There are many new unique skills for new and returning demons in the game, allowing them to show off their personality through gameplay effects and animations. This is increased by the addition of more Magatsuhi skills, of which many require a specific combination of demons in your party. All new demons now have the passive innate skill. Many of these are unique to one demon, and each effect gives off a distinctly interesting effect that is relevant to its characterization. There are a lot of references to the lore or the appearances of the demons in previous entries in the series. The result of this is the ability to express yourself in combat by showing off the characteristics unique to each demon. But it's not just characteristics that this improves. The tactics of the party building and of the combat significantly enhanced. To discuss this, we have to move to the combat and party management section of this video. SMT5's combat is a fully realized version of press turn gameplay, which expands upon the games that came before it. The press turn system from Nocturne proves its worth again and again, and in Vengeance in particular, it is expanded upon. A brief explanation for those unaware of press turn combat. Your number of actions is represented by press turn icons. Hitting a crit or a weakness makes a turn icon flash instead of being consumed, allowing you to conserve an action. Though this is a double-edged sword, as missing or having your attack nulled by an enemy's resistance will make you lose an additional press turn. These mechanics are symmetrical, so the enemy has the same opportunity to rack up action count as you do. At the same time, it means that any advantage an enemy may get from their system is one that the player can achieve too. Infamously in Nocturne, Matador raises his own accuracy and evasion by 4 stages, making him impossibly difficult to hit, and each time you miss, you are wasting 2 actions because of the press turn system. This is incredibly daunting at first, leading to Matador's reputation as a wall of a boss fight, but by building a party around the press turn system and buff systems, you can flip that advantage around him. Buff your own evasion, use demons that nullify force to waste his actions, and use this knowledge to your advantage in future battles. The same is true in 5. Your victory can often boil down to a simple choice of picking demons that null enemy attacks and strike with their weaknesses, especially when you can use a dampener after they forecast an attack. But even then, the party building in 5 is an engaging and strategically central part of the game. Some bosses are harder and more complex than others, though. The battle against Nama in the train station creates an excellently tense atmosphere. The 2 enemies you fight are very aggressive. Nama continuously tries to inflict charm on your whole party, with a rate at which most party members will be inflicted, unless you've prepared a resistance. What Nama lacked in offense in her first battle, Glacial Labalus provides. Whilst your party is charmed, Glacial Labalus will apply pressure, using physical skills that can easily kill members of your party if you're not defensive enough. And since Nama's charm skill clears your buffs, it can be hard to stay alive. This results in a scenario in which the player must scramble to recover from the constant assailments being delivered by this duo. If you don't successfully predict Glacial Labalus' Magatsuhi skill being force-based, it will decimate your party. The player knows that their party could easily be wiped at any point during this fight, which is why it's so exhilarating. This is one aspect of what contributes to the wider atmosphere of bosses in SMT5. Otherworldly atmosphere in boss fights is central to modern SMT games. The most significant factor towards the experience is the soundtrack, containing Kozuka's work of genius, titled Humans, Demons, and this track represents the pinnacle of Shin Megami Tensei boss themes. It uses an alternative style of relentless percussion guitars that have been described as sounding like screams. The song brilliantly conveys the feeling of an otherworldly threat. The track is crafted to be extremely threatening and overwhelming, and masterfully creates the imposing feeling of power and the otherworldly. Vengeance goes out of its way to make each boss fight feel like a unique experience, with over 40 battle themes, and as a result, both normal battles and boss fights alike are made memorable. SMT combat, ever since Nocturne, has also gained a reputation for, unlike many other RPGs, making the use of buff and debuff skills important. Buffs in 5, whilst not stacking as much as in Nocturne, can stack to 2. The ability to apply more buffs and debuffs naturally means that using them to their full extent becomes better. 5 also takes somewhat of a departure from 3 and 4, in that buffs last a limited number of turns, like in other turn-based games. Though, combining this with buff stacking creates some interesting interactions. You might find that it's best to reapply a buff when it's about to run out to simultaneously increase the stack, since this strategy would be best for conserving your limited MP and actions. But if you want to play faster, you could instead increase the stack as fast as possible. It's up to you and the situation you're in. The system births tactics. Furthermore, with the press turn system, you can also pass your turn to forfeit that party member's action, but cause the press turn to only flash instead of being consumed. This allows you to rearrange the way in which you spend your actions, opening the door for strategization around best spending the actions that you have. Vengeance is also the first game in a while to play around with the press turn system. The introduction of new magatsuhi skills, innates, and just normal skills allow for the increasing and decreasing of the number of press turns in play. One example would be that the Wellspring, Rains, and Waves of Order magatsuhi skills give a supporting effect and grant an extra press turn next turn, whereas the Torrent, Fountain, and Tides of Chaos skills do the opposite. They are offensive and remove enemy press turns. Having the player strategize around differing numbers of press turns has them tactically approach a turn in a different way than they would have before. The introduction of other magatsuhi skills in Vengeance also expands the combat and diversifies tactics. The original SMT5 had its Omagataki critical skill dwarf all other uses of the Magatsuhi gauge most of the time, but in Vengeance, Magatsuhi skills, such as the ones that simultaneously deal damage and inflict debuffs, can often be more useful, especially when considering that Omagataki critical's dominance is decreased by the existence of demon unique skills that eclipse it anyways. The player's approach to combat is encouraged to be more varied in this way. One of the most significant aspects of SMT5's gameplay is its party customization, which is intuitive and gives the player a lot of freedom without sacrificing the identity of each demon. In SMT, as well as recruiting demons by talking to them, you can fuse demons together to make stronger ones. SMT5 introduces perhaps the best quality of life change of all time, Compendium Fusion. You can view all the possible demons that you could make with the demons in your compendium, making it infinitely easier to map out who you're going to add to your roster. But most importantly for customization, SMT5 has the most free skill system in the series. SMT1 and 2 didn't have much customization. Nocturne had the customizable yet unclear Magatama system. SMT4 had the uninteresting Demon Whisper system, merely allowing you to port existing demon skills onto your protag by carrying them through enough levels. SMT5 is different. Essences of demons you may have never gotten before can be found throughout the game's world, as well as a reward for quests and such, to mention the main methods. This gives the player access to numerous different skills to choose from, to apply to any demon or the Nahobino, though at the same time, one must choose carefully, as this is a limited resource. You can only hold one of any given demon's essence at a time. Through the two aforementioned methods of gaining essences, you have a list of additional skills that you can instantly apply that is based on how much of the world you've explored. The developers, Maniac's team, are able to control which skills you might get from essences by controlling which essences to place in the world, though at the same time, they gave you a lot of choice as to which skills from which essences you're going to use with your limited skill slots. The player is given a lot of freedom, opportunity for expression, and practically countless different possible strategies that they could build their party around, executed in a way that offers these options as rewards for engaging with the game and its world. The options for building the Nahobino offer even more room for expression. Due to the balance of the game, investing into any one of his customizable stats can be used to form a good strategy. With physical and magical skills are useful, physical for their ability to crit, especially in combination with guaranteed crit skills like Crit Aura, and magic for hitting weaknesses, which enemies and bosses almost always have. Investing in luck can make for an exciting and unpredictable random crit build. Agility is useful for making very powerful low accuracy skills useful, and for evasion builds that are encouraged by late game skills in Vengeance. Vitality can be used for a face tank build made possible by the existence of taunt skills. With these basic ideas for builds, there are many directions one can take, forming an excellent protagonist customization system. The number of options you have also lends to the replayability of the game. Additionally, Vengeance's introduction of New Testament tablets allows for the reallocation of stats, creating the opportunity for multiple builds to be used in a single run. The choice of which demons to use in SMT5 is made far more interesting by mechanics that make lower level demons worth using. In SMT, demons level slowly, or in some older games, not at all, forcing the player to constantly look for new demons to recruit and fuse. This is great for encouraging the player to change to fresh and interesting new team compositions frequently, making them engage with numerous different demons across a single playthrough, though it does mean a lot of demons can get left in the dust. and it discourages using any demons that have a lower starting level than your current level. SMT5, however, gives the player plenty of room to integrate lower level demons into their strategy. One simple reason for this would be grimoires, which raise demon levels closer to the protag's level, allowing them to keep up. But it's the unique skills and characteristics that demons have that encourage the player to do this in the first place. At least in a gameplay sense, they may have personal motivations for wanting to use different demons, such as their designs. Either way, personal skills in SMT5 can be very useful, from offering great offense, healing, or support that exceeds the quality of skills at the point in the game in which that demon becomes available, or having unique effects that give a demon utility outside of what other demons offer. However, it's the innate skills in Vengeance that provide the most strategically interesting addition to the gameplay identity of demons. Not only are many innate skills unique to a specific demon, but all innate skills are unable to be passed down via fusion or acquired by other methods. This means that there's no way to get around the fact that, to get a specific innate skill, you have to use specific demons. Many of these can encourage you to use certain demons in simple ways, such as buffing skill potential of a specific damage type just by existing in your active party. But on the other hand, many innate skills are entirely defining as to how a demon functions. An example of this would be with Skathach, who has the unique innate skill which gives her guaranteed accuracy if Satanta or Kakalain are in the party with her. This absolute certainty that she will never miss has perfect synergy with the line of critical slash skills, such as Mighty Cleave and Figment Slash. These skills are guaranteed to crit and have great damage, but have such low accuracy that setting up several buffs to your hit rate is necessary to use them, especially with the press turn system. Skathach's innate allows you to bypass the accuracy problem entirely, making her a very convenient user of extremely useful skills from the moment you get her until essentially the end of the game. Innates are not limited, however, to improving the party building aspect of SMT5. Many innate skills are crafted with such unique, interesting, and game-changing effects that they lead to strategically genius plays within the combat encounters of SMT5 Vengeance. The Vengeance community discovered a strategy that uses the innate skills of 5 different demons, as well as one of the new Magatsuhi skills introduced in this version of the game. Azazel, Belial, and Tzitmitl each debuff attack, defense, and accuracy and evasion respectively for all enemies and allies when summoned mid-battle due to their unique innates. If you have a true neutral aligned demon within your active party, you can cast Omegataki Strategise, allowing you to summon demons and pass at no cost to your action count. Arahabaki's unique innate causes any demons which are summoned mid-combat to gain the same buffs as him, so by also keeping him in your active party while you use Strategise to switch in Azazel, Belial, and Tzitmitl twice each, you can apply every type of debuff, stacked twice, to all enemies as well as allies, including anyone who gets switched in. Then, by summoning Amanazako, you can use her unique trait to reverse your debuffs into buffs, while still keeping the enemy debuffed. And then, with Strategise and a Harabaki still active, you can switch in your preferred party members, eventually resulting in having the whole enemy side fully debuffed and the whole player side fully buffed twice at the cost of 1 Magatsuhi gauge and 0 actions, all due to good strategizing. I don't know if anyone's following at this point, but essentially, the innate skills and other mechanics in SMT5 Vengeance lead to incredibly deep strategic gameplay. The game also offers a particular type of endgame challenge to test your strategy. Vengeance's superbosses offer its most effective use of the combat system. There are 6, if you want to be liberal about it, across both routes and various areas of the game. The best displays of the combat come from the new superbosses added in Vengeance. Satan is a culmination of Shin Megami Tensei 5 combat. The main mechanic of this battle is centered around the main mechanic introduced by the game, Magatsuhi. Satan consumes the various demons that he summons as allies with his skill Magatsuhi Plunder, healing himself based on the demon's remaining HP and partially changing resistances based on the demon. But most importantly, of course, he gains access to a Magatsuhi skill based on the plundered demon that he can use next turn. The way he changes throughout the fight forces the player to constantly adapt their tactics in several ways. They will have to have a good understanding of Magatsuhi skills and how to respond to them. Significantly, the player can change which Magatsuhi skill Satan is going to use by killing the alternative so Satan can't plunder it. This introduces the tactical decision of which Magatsuhi skill you want to make Satan use. Furthermore, fighting the demon you'd rather he'd plunder is a balancing act of keeping them alive, but a low HP, to minimize the amount he will restore from them. Changing his resistances can also create openings, or closed doors, for the players to get damage in. This battle against the adversary comprises of a complex web of decision making, between supporting, healing, deciding when to go offensive, when to charge, when to seize opportunities, which demons to target, when to stop attacking, how to respond to Magatsuhi skills, and how to best utilize any bonus actions one might obtain from innate and other skills. There's a lot to think about, and numerous creative ways that this fight can be tackled. This is all without mentioning the requirement for incredibly tight MP management throughout the fight. The offensive skills necessary to deal with a group of enemies such as this are not cheap, and your MP restoratives are always limited. Finally, as the fight progresses, Satan summons a third demon at once, meaning you'll have to either speed up or face the consequences of excess demons. Satan asks that you make an airtight strategy. The battle begs mastery of the combat system, and creates a thrilling atmosphere through gameplay. Nahobino, you have freed another world from the clutches of the mandala system. Yet amidst the countless other worlds, your deeds are trifling. They have not had the slightest effect on the whole of the system.
Following the world's recreation, a new dot will eventually appear. And soon after, the gods will rise up to claim the throne. Battle after battle, you sought to purge demons from this world. But they will come slithering back, as they always do. This endless cycle is the result of a spatial governing phenomenon known as the mandala system. Do you not wish to be free of such restrictions? Do you not wish to be free from Mandala's eternal machinations?
Mandala is Sanskrit for circle. SMT5 hints at the concept with imagery throughout the entire game. There are circles in dialogue boxes, combat interfaces, and the main menu, for example. The music that the game begins with is titled Circle, and the music that plays in narration as you enter the Netherworld for the first time, as well as making the choice at the end of the game, is titled Spiral. Consecutive New Game Plus runs are also called cycles. The greatest thing that the Nahobino can do is break free from the mandala system. Freedom from the cycle of rule that has determined the course of the past eons. In the creation route of SMT5, or the original non-vengeance story, it is the true neutral path that the Nahobino must take to create a true world for humanity and break free from Mandala, though in his way stands the forces of both law and chaos. Ichiro Dazai is a self-doubting student attending Jouin High School alongside the protagonist. A child of divorced parents, he lacks confidence, hiding behind the facade of a class clown, and trying to gain esteem by means such as chasing content creation. Dazai's lack of direction changes when he meets Bethel. In his accidental transportation to the Netherworld with the protag at the beginning of the game, he is eventually enlisted to become part of the Bethel organization fighting against invading demons.
Dude, I get to protect Tokyo? How cool is that?
With the demon summoning program of his own, Bethel instills in Ichiro a sense of purpose that he never had, though this doesn't stop him from being meek. Ichiro is afraid of demons in combat.
So, I think I kinda underestimated this whole fighting thing. Like that honor student, Atsuta? Now he's impressive. Went right up to those demons, no sweat. And then you got me. And it's because I couldn't get it together. And all the students, what the hell was I thinking? Like some dropout like me could ever do that kind of stuff.
But in his search for confidence, he finds a beacon of hope. Abdiel, the fierce archangel and high-ranking member of Bethel, is looked up to by Ichiro. In a scene in Shinagawa, Abdiel lights a spark in Ichiro that leads to the acquisition of his confidence and faith.
I want to become strong. I want to be confident, like you.
You wish to learn my strength. Then I shall tell you. My strength comes from my unshakable faith in the Lord. For the Lord is absolute. Simply believe and act without hesitation.
unshakable faith in the Lord. To become strong, Ichiro looks to God. Ichiro is led down a path of law that results in the attainment of the strength and self-esteem that he needs so desperately. He is given agency by the forces of law, and it solves his problems perfectly. His outlook towards ideology and systems of rule is made evident in the way that he responds to events around him. He criticizes director Koshimizu's more liberal manner of leading as weak. In the Vengeance route, Master provides for him a display of power that he both fears and admires, though the influence of law also causes a drastic change in his personality. With his newfound power, Ichiro becomes arrogant, cocky, and violent. Nevertheless, he pushes onwards to the Empyrean with the goal of creating a world of law. Dazai is Abdiel's knowledge. Together, they become a Nahobino, Abdiel becoming a fallen angel in her defiance of God's own condemnation of this act of fusing in the pursuit of carrying out his will. By this point, Ichiro is determined to violently defend the world that God wants.
Don't you get it? How could someone who is all-powerful, all-seeing, all-knowing ever steer us wrong?
Though, of course, God is dead, Ichiro puts absolute faith in the guidance of a being he knows to no longer exist. In his search for acceptance and belief in himself, he twists himself into a different person, putting blind faith into a dead leader. Ichiro's character is an exploration of what law can do both positively and negatively for the weak. The other student to be found in the netherworld in Minato is the prodigy Yuzuru. Assertive, strong, and popular, he's the opposite of Ichiro. He's not hesitant to criticize others when he thinks they made a misstep.
So what? This is where you prove you can fight? You think you can just fly in and be a hero? If only... If you could have fought, then maybe you wouldn't have gotten my sister kidnapped!
He's firm in his dedication to protecting Tokyo, as he's been in battle for a while and is confident in his abilities. In SMT5, the fall of Tokyo to the netherworld, and the subsequent necessity for the Shekinah glory to create an illusion of normal Tokyo, happened under the rule of the God of Law. Both Yuzuru and Koshimizu want to protect Tokyo and prevent something like this from happening again. Yuzuru's belief in his own strength drives his desire to become a Nahobino. Knowing that he possesses the knowledge of Koshimizu, who is in fact the god Tsukuyomi, he becomes overzealous and aims to take the throne of creation by himself and Koshimizu alone. Ironically, it's he who thinks that he can be a hero. He also has a younger sister, Miyazu, who is critically ill and has strange dreams about a moon god, though a different one to Tsukuyomi. Yuzuru is motivated heavily by his desire to protect his younger sister. In the Vengeance route, Asia creates a dilemma for him, asking him to kill the protagonist to save his sister, and his values are revealed when he engages in the battle with the protagonist. The situation is ultimately saved by the very moon god Miyazu has dreams of, though all are unwitting. Yuzuru betrayed the protag, and yet didn't save Miyazu. This battle highlights his flaws as a person in his disloyalty, as well as his own weakness. Yuzuru and Koshimizu wish to create a world ruled by not a single ruler, but by a myriad of gods. In such a world, humans would be under constant threat by the whims of whichever god would take the throne. Ichiro correctly points this out when they meet at the Empyrean.
So what do you think is gonna happen in your world of gods? Endless war.
The ideal world of Yuzuru and Koshimizu involves humans having to be strong. Yuzuru is therefore made to appear hypocritical by the highlighting of his own moral and able weakness throughout the events of the game. His ideology provides a solution that allows for the input of multiple gods, as opposed to a single ruler, but the system he wants to create is ultimately too chaotic and results in the great suffering of humans. There is a third option: challenge both gods and demons. This path is represented by the human Shohei Yakumo and the Chinese goddess Nuwa, creator of humans. Yakumo is clearly a disturbed man in his own right, making demons for friends when he was younger. His wish to destroy the throne and create a world in which humans have to fend for themselves stems from a belief of the weak not deserving to live. Destroying the throne is initially no more easily defensible of a choice than the other two. Accompanying the Nahobino to the Empyrean in all other routes is Tao, the reincarnated goddess. Her name, referencing Taoism, alludes to the Taoist philosophy of balance and harmony, not pursuing a higher purpose or goal other than the Tao. This again links to the Manyoshu, with the lament on the ephemerality of life portraying harmony with nature, and of course, indifference to worldly things. In chapter 46 of Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching, it is stated that there is no greater sin than desire, no greater curse than discontent. Taoism may agree with Otomo no Yakumochi in this way, though Taoism's emphasis on balance would encourage encourage some amount of materialism or embracement of worldly things, as opposed to a complete rejection of it. Perhaps a neutral route in SMT could align with this balance. There is, of course, one other being that must be confronted when taking the throne in the Empyrean.
The god you cravenly revere is dead.
Lucifer, as one might expect, is usually the leader of the forces of chaos in SMT games. In SMT 5, 18 years before the events of the game, Lucifer, as the morning star of rebellion, has killed the Judeo-Christian god, Yahweh, also known in the game as the god of law. Though, in consuming his knowledge, Lucifer became aware of the mandala system, the cycle of rulership which has shackled the world for eons since the reign of the bull god Marduk. A ruler ascends to power, imposing their ideology on the world. The netherworld and demons will return again. A new Nahobino will ascend the Pillar Imperial, challenge and vanquish the old ruler, and the cycle will continue, a never-ending struggle for power. When Lucifer defeated the god of law, he realized that imposing a reign of chaos onto the world would only be replacing one tyrant with the next. In the first Shin Megami Tensei game, an old man says this: "Light and darkness, law and chaos. The balance of this world is beginning to crumble away. If it tilts to either side, it will eventually fall apart. What do you intend to do about it?" In SMT4, choosing either law or chaos means siding with an extreme ideology that will result in a genocide. In SMT5, Lucifer no longer desires chaos. He leaves it up to the Nahobino to decide which ideology should rule the world.
Light or dark, you may chase whatever you please. I shall await you in the realm beyond the earth and heavens. Until then, may your newfound power guide your survival.
But to achieve freedom, the Nahobino must do away with gods and demons, away with extremism, and create a world for humanity. By the strength of the portrayal of its themes through imagery and dialogue, this is how SMT5 tells its story. Condemning gods and demons, however, also means departing with Algami.
True, unrestricted freedom, born from eons of battle. All that's left is to add the final touches. Gods and demons have no place in the world, at least not in yours. It seems this is truly farewell.
Lucifer seeks to end the mandala system, breaking the circle and achieving true freedom.
Long have I searched for a way to truly be free. At last, I have found but one possibility. End me. Consume my knowledge, and with it, wrest this world from the mandala's endless eons.
Lucifer's desire for freedom from this cycle can be compared to nirvana in Buddhism, the end of the cycle of samsara. He wants to free himself, you, and all of humanity. The end of the mandala system is his method of attaining this. 2 years and some months after the release of SMT5, a second version of the game was released. SMT5 had many conflicting ideas that weren't fully realized in the original release of the game. Therefore, in revisiting it, Komori was able to expand on these, delivering a version of the game that was closer to what he had originally wanted for it. And it tells a different story.
When trapped in a cycle, victims of abuse only want one thing. They want to take revenge.
Hiromine, that...
The Kadishtu, or Four Sacred Prostitutes, are fallen angels who want revenge on the horned god Marduk for the death of the primordial serpentine goddess and the creation of the mandala system. They seek to achieve this by gathering Magatsuhi via the suffering and death of humans to summon their goddess. The Kadishtu act as primary antagonists, though they're not the only demons who pose a threat to Tokyo.
It is the moment of decision, my errant soul. Accept me. Accept the vengeance you deserve.
You're not alone, Sahori. If you want revenge, then I'll help you get it.
Lamy was the primary antagonist of the second area of the original SMT5, and with his arc focusing on the concept of revenge, it's clear how the ideas explored in Vengeance were intended for the original game. Lamy's arc ends before the second area begins in Vengeance, yet the story they have to tell with him is ever relevant to the main theme of the new version of the game. Sahori, a student of Jouin and a friend of Tao, is being bullied, trapped in a cycle of abuse. She seeks revenge. This is where Lamu appears, as a demon, a representation of human desire, invading Tokyo through the netherworld. He tempts Sahori into giving into her darkest desire.
I command you, give in to your urges, accept them, embrace them.
She wishes to kill the people bullying her. In the original story, she does, ending 2 lives and eventually her own, in Lamu's attempt to fuse with her to become a Nahobino. Though, in the canon of Vengeance, Tao, gaining a desire to get revenge for Sahori, eventually has the opposite effect. Sahori recognizes Tao's care for her and stands up to Lamu, weakening his influence and allowing them to kill him. Sahori resists her desire for revenge. Tao's new approach came from a conversation with Vengeance's pivotal character.
You really want to help? Then ask yourself if you're willing to kill the girls bullying her.
Yoko is the proponent of vengeance. She is the game's chaos representative, a reflection of Tao. She is, in fact, a reincarnation of the goddess of creation, hence the name of the series. Though deemed dangerous by the god of law, she was sealed away, only to be freed by the protagonist if the player chose so at the start of the game, beginning the canon of vengeance. According to an interview with Kimori, she existed in concept since SMT5 was in production, but they couldn't make her work in the original game. Again, a suggestion that vengeance was the fulfilled opportunity for the developers to create the fully realized original vision. Yoko wants revenge on God, and is, as such, used by the Kadishtu in their plan for vengeance on Marduk. Ultimately, she doesn't entirely want the same as what the Kadishtu do, but complies due to her alignment with chaos and vengeance. Her chaotic outlook is portrayed largely by the most effective change Vengeance makes with its characterization, the presence of humans in the party. Yoko is found in the Netherworld and joins the protagonist in the first area. She participates in combat with a gameplay style typical of someone emblematic of chaos and darkness. Most significantly, the fact that she's accompanying the protagonist at all times means she has ideas to input about the world around her. Throughout the story, she will comment on various types of conflict between order and chaos, offering an argument for chaos each time. She'll talk when you finish a side quest. In the first area, she criticizes Apsaras as a figure of authority. Yoko gives her chaos-aligned interpretations, and during this part of the game, there's no one to rebut her. Though, she's not the only human party member to join you. Whilst Yoko is present in the party from areas 1 to 3, Tao is present in areas 2 to 4, meaning they overlap in the middle 2 quarters of the game. Tao is now the law representative of this route. Opposed to vengeance, though not as staunch in her ideals as Yoko. Starting in Shinagawa, she has conversations with Yoko where they debate lawful and chaotic approaches to different societal issues. Having the characters regularly have these back and forth discussions incites questions for the player as to where they stand. They're given numerous two-sided debates with no clear answer, and the game asks them, as all SMT games do, where their ideology lies. One must ask these questions to become more thoughtful, such that they can come to more justified conclusions about their own worldview. As well as these more literal real-world problems in society, Yoko and Tao discuss the state of the world and the conflict between angels and demons. Do you get it now, Tao? That's just how the angels do things. The creator and the angels make the rules in this world, so they think they get to decide the fate of all humanity. Well, the fate of everyone. I mean, you saw they did the same thing to the village fairies. You still think what they're doing is right? Do you really think humanity can be happy in this world? Yes, even so, I want to believe this world has a future. At the end of the third area, the party confronts the Kadishtu, who are almost ready to perform the ritual to summon their primordial goddess. To do this, they need to sacrifice the life of the Nahobino, and at this point, they call upon Yoko to help them, who had secretly been working with them. Though Yoko fights alongside you, Yoko's reluctance to comply may either show an emotional attachment to the protagonist, or a genuine disagreement with the Kadishtu's goals. The Kadishtu complete their ritual and seize the Nahobino. Aogami's life is forfeit, leaving the protagonist alone. The protagonist's other half, and Koshimizu's brother, is gone. They share a desire: vengeance. It's this part of the game which makes the protagonist and the player want revenge for themselves. The protagonist and Koshimizu fuse to form a new Nahobino, Vengeance for Reclamation, the battle theme of the new form, has a strongly aggressive tone, filled with the vigor and energy that represents this drive for revenge. Also, the menu theme titled "It Seems the Knowledge is Now in Control" no longer plays when the new form is active. Vengeance's title screen also uses this motif. This game uses this motif to represent a kind of order, and when it is removed, it replies a situation of chaos. Tiamat was resurrected with the goal of destroying the world, such that a new one can be reborn from the primordial chaos. Yoko awakens as a reincarnated goddess, changing her personality, similar to how Tao's personality changes when she does the same thing at the beginning of the 4th area. Her ideals align with the Kadishu's ultimate goal. Any doubt she had died with the old Yoko. Nevertheless, the ideology she had before the transformation still aligns with the same idea. She always wanted to destroy the world in order to start from scratch. I'll never understand that. This world's defined by pain and suffering, nothing else. I don't care if it falls apart. In the Empyrean, both Yoko and Tao stand before the Nahubino, who must make the choice of whether to preserve the current world or to destroy it and begin an entirely new one.
I carry the will of the Kadishu. I will destroy this world and surrender it to chaos.
Tao, ever faithful to preserving the current world in spite of its broken system, holds true to her ideals.
If he gets his ideal world, then we can save everyone. So please, you have to believe in us.
Yoko's destruction of the world would free it from the system of the throne created by Marduk, the original ruler of the world, who imposed it to make it so that his rule would last eternally, even after his death, the mandala system.
It's not fair. Never was. It is the hierarchy that came to be when the horned god assumed the throne. One god rose above the others and seized control. By his example, mortals learned to do the same. This structure has defined us, corrupted humanity. It is our history, broken beyond repair. Listen to me. You felt it back at school. You saw humanity for what it is. Stupid and ugly.
I did. I did feel it then. But that is why we need him. A new god to rule and mend this broken world. For Yuzuru, for Yakumo, for Dazai. We need someone who can answer their human hopes. With his powers as Nahobino, I know he can create a world of peace and joy.
Tao, is that truly what you believe? One god to rule over everyone? Do you think humanity will ever be happy being ruled? No. It's built on the same ground. The same broken system. A god who has control over everything. It ruined our world. That's the reason we're fractured, divided between oppressors and oppressed. Even if he takes the throne, nothing will change. It will simply be a new oppressor. There is only one way. Our way. Let Tiamat's power destroy the world, then begin anew from the chaos. Truly free. There will be no concept of rule, and everyone, human and demon, will be free.
Yoko offers an end to the mandala system that the world has remained at the whims of for eons. Yet, her solution involves the end of that world. Yoko despairs at the state of the world, believing that there is nothing meaningful in it, believing it only contains suffering. This scene is heartbreaking. The despondent music that takes its time to sound heartfelt heightens the emotion of Yoko's tragic speech about the state of the world and her view of it. Yoko's plan would return the world to a state of primordial chaos before the concept of rule. There is a great freedom to be attained from it, but at what cost? Tao's choice would preserve the current world in hopes that it could improve. It would undo the deaths caused by the war for the throne, but the mandala system would stay intact. Would humanity ever be free?
Oh, Tiamat. Grant death to the slaves of the system!
Could Yoko ever be right? Is humanity really stupid and ugly? Should you take vengeance on reality itself? Or should you forgive it? Does humanity have the potential to be good? Should we have hope for the future of this world? Parts of this video were inspired by the words of people on the internet. I shall thank DDS Throwaway64, whose comment was instrumental to my understanding of the relevance of the Manyoshu to SMT5, as I don't speak Japanese and the connection by the original Japanese wording would have been lost on me. To get a grasp on the Japanese for myself, I asked my friend Danny, so thanks to them for assisting. Also to 828fu, whose comment made me initially realize a while back the relevance of circles to the themes of SMT5. I should also mention that certain aspects of the style of this video feel a little similar to what Camelin was doing. I may have been particularly inspired after watching a Three Houses video. It's kind of funny how I've made 2 videos in a row when the main theme of the game is revenge. Either way, SMT5 is an important game to me, the one that got me into the Megaton franchise, so I hope I've done it justice. Thanks for listening to my analysis, I hope to make more soon, and have a great day.